Hello, welcome to this new IRIS webinar. My name is Pierrick Delez. I will be your host today. Today's webinar is about selling IRISXtract as a service. And I'm joined by Bart Palliger, who will do most of the talking today. But before we go into that webinar, let me talk about some practicalities. We are using a webinar tool called Livestorm. We cannot hear you, but you can ask your questions via the tab you see on the right-hand side of your screen. We will also ask you one or two polls during the webinar at some point, so we'll be happy if you can answer those questions, and Bart will relate to your answers about those questions. This webinar is being recorded, and you will have the possibility to replay that webinar later. We put all our webinars, all the materials, all the recordings of the webinars that we do on our website, irisdatacapture.com/webinars. So you can replay webinars from that page, and you can also subscribe to the next webinars. The webinar will be about 45 minutes, but with a Q&A session that we will have at the end. It may be that we go slightly over 45 minutes. And with that, I think we are all set, and I can give you the floor, Bart.
Yes, thank you very much, Pierrick. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all fine. We are still working from home, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. The summer is there. I've prepared my presentation saying the sun is shining. Unfortunately, it's raining right now in Belgium, but still everything is coming more and more back to the usual life. Belgium has opened the borders with our neighbors. Unfortunately, we forgot to tell this to our neighbors, so a lot of confusion, some misunderstandings. Just like I said, everything is business as usual. And for us at IRIS, well, we are busier as ever. We do remote installations, we do remote demonstrations, trainings, and we also have remote webinars like this one, the webinar about IRISXtract as a service, how to sell it. So welcome, everybody. My name is Bart Palliger. I am the head of business development for the region Southwest Europe. And for those who followed the HR webinar, you know already that I have a technical background. And those who know me in real life, they know that I'm a funny guy. I like to make jokes. I like to go out. I have lots of hobbies. For instance, one of my hobbies is flying ultralight aircraft. And as you can see on the picture, even high in the sky, we keep it safe. But the most relevant information for you about me is that I have roughly 20 years of experience in communication solutions, in digital transformation solutions. And from those 20 years, almost 10 years are at IRIS. And in the beginning, when I started my career, we were just software developers. And along the road, we started to differentiate ourselves by developing software which was sold as box moving and software which was sold as solution selling. And solution selling sounds very cool, but in the early beginning, it also had a kind of negative connotation. Solution selling means as well a lot of customization, where customers often are afraid of. So we solved it by introducing something new, the COTS, commercials off the shelf, best of both worlds. No customization, but parameterization. And then later on, what happened, which had a huge impact on us, was there was the introduction of the cloud. And the cloud, well, actually cloud already exists for a long time, but it is the evolution in the cloud, and especially the evolution in bandwidth, in CPU power, in storage, which brought more and more opportunities for us as software developers. So we introduced again new things. We introduced application service provider. We introduced software as a service, EAAS, PAAS, a lot of different things and somehow the same things. Well, the most important over here is that the S each time stands for service. And that's exactly what we are going to talk about today, is how you can sell IRISXtract as a service. So I will start with, first of all, explaining what does that mean, IRISXtract as a service, at least for us, how you can offer this to your customers, and at the end, how IRIS can support you in this. And I will give you some examples of existing partners who are already offering IRISXtract as a service to their customers today. So let's start with the beginning. What is IRISXtract as a service? If I make it very simple, I would say it is IRISXtract in the cloud. The only thing is, it's not the cloud which makes it a service. Cloud is the tool which allows us to propose it as a service. Because offering it as a service means that we enable our software for the end customer the moment that the end customer needs it. And the customer will pay only if he is using our software. So he's paid for the usage, and he is no longer paying for being the owner or having the user rights for the software. And why does that mean cloud? Well, if you are going to invoice the usage, you would like to avoid to have setup costs. And sometimes it's not avoidable, but at least you would like to keep those setup costs and all the costs which are not immediately related to the usage to a bare minimum. And this is something which exactly you can do with the cloud. When you have the cloud, everything is pre-installed. There is no installation you have to do before you can use Extract. And there is a second reason. With the cloud, you can easily monitor what is the usage of your end customer. And if you would like to invoice the usage, well, then it's important, of course, that you can monitor what your customer is using. You can also shut down the service immediately if you want. Imagine that your customer is no longer paying the bill, you're in full control. So that's why cloud and service goes together. Now, there are two questions. The first question is, what kind of service can you offer as a partner to your customers? And the second question is, how can IRIS support you with what you are offering to your customers? And let's start with the beginning, what you can offer to your customers. I make the assumption that we only speak about cloud, because to be very honest, we also have partners who are offering IRISXtract today as a service in an on-premise mode. They have a kind of subscription or transactional license model behind. But for today, I keep the scope to IRISXtract cloud-based offered as a service. So if this is what you would like to offer to your customers, there are two different approaches that you can do. And the first approach is, if you install and deliver already Extract today, is exactly the same as what you do today. You make tailor-made solutions for your end customers, meaning you are going to do an analysis of the needs of your customer. You make a proposal, technical proposal. You do a proof of concept, demonstration, perhaps a pilot, and at the end, you go into production. Well, you can do exactly the same with IRISXtract as a service. The only difference is that you no longer install an IRISXtract server on premises at your customer, but you deploy the configuration that you made for your customer to a cloud server. And the second difference is, of course, that your customer is no longer paying the license, but is going to pay the usage to you. So that's the first approach, that the approach like most of our partners are doing today, making tailor-made solutions for their customers based on the needs of the customer. There is a second approach, and this approach is a repetitive approach, which you can also do today with on-premises solutions, but here the cloud makes it very easy to do this. And the idea behind a repetitive solution is that you have configured one time a solution, an application, and this application you are going to sell as a kind of packaged solution to your customers. It is always the same, so you don't have to go into an analysis, you don't have to go to understand what are the needs, you do it more marketing-wise. This is the solution that you have, and you go out and you sell this solution. And within this repetitive approach, there are two different ways of handling it. The first thing is you can just start selling default solutions that we IRIS offer to you as a partner. For instance, you know, we have default solutions, we call them solution packs right out of the box. We have them for order processing, the SPORD. We have it also for invoice processing, the SPAP, the accounts payable solution. So imagine you would like to offer an invoice processing solution. You could start working with the SPAP out of the box. And if there are 5 partners who say, this is a cool idea and I really would like to start doing this, the result will be that we will have 5 times the same solution which is offered to the market, which to be honest is not a bad thing. If I would like to buy a Ferrari, I can go to 5 different car dealers and they will offer me the same car, or in my case, a more modest car. But imagine that you would like to offer a custom Ferrari. This is also possible. You can offer a custom IRISXtract solution and still go in this repetitive mode. Imagine that you are focusing, for instance, on the Italian market. And in Italian, you have VAT, which has to be paid partially directly to the government. And you would like to include this in your solution, where you can make, started from the SPAP, your own invoice reader. Or you're in Belgium and you would like to implement payments and work through Isabel, which is a payment provider in Belgium, and you integrate this in your solution. So you can make a complete new solution based on an existing SPAP, or even based starting from zero. And this becomes your new application, which you will sell through a repetitive approach. So always reselling the same, but it is your unique solution. And once that you did this, we will store it for you. We will keep it as a kind of template so that it's very easy to deploy each time a new project behind. So 2 different approaches, tailor-made or repetitive. And repetitive, go for a standard solution, or you can do a one-time setup to make your own product, which you are going to sell to your customers. But this is only if I look to IRISXtract. You as a partner to your customers, you can go much further with the service that you are offering. For instance, you can start talking about integration. Who is going to do the integration? Do you leave this up to your customer, or is this something that you are also going to offer as a service to your partner? The same if there is some customization needed. Perhaps you would like to offer a workflow around it, an archive system. There are also some partners who offer together with manual encoding. You know, if you use a data capture platform, time to time, something is not correctly captured and you need a manual interaction. Typically, we leave this manual interaction to the end customer, but you could make a decision to offer this as well as a service to your customer, so that your customer has 100% guaranteed the right feedback coming from the project. You could offer an ERP system behind. You could offer some scan devices. So what you see is because we deliver to you IRISXtract, but IRISXtract can be only a starting point for a complete service. And in some cases, actually the IRISXtract becomes only a minor part, or almost not relevant, and it's a bigger holistic solution that you are offering to your customers, where IRISXtract is just a part of. So if you are offering this IRISXtract or a complete solution where IRISXtract is part of, what can you expect of IRIS to support you in this case? Well, the first question is, which hardware are you going to use if we are going cloud? You can use your own hardware, you can use your own data center, but if you don't have, you can also use hardware, you can use a data center coming from IRIS. And we offer you IRIS Cloud as a complete service, which you can reuse towards your customers. And this IRISXtract Cloud is coming in two different flavors. The first flavor is a shared cloud environment. That means there is one big virtual server on the internet, and on this virtual server, we have IRISXtract hosting multiple applications for multiple customers. Of course, it's not physically one server, it's separated over multiple data centers for security reasons. I think the basic is in total 12 servers, which is replicated 3 times. But the concept is one virtual environment with for each customer an application in it. And if you would like to use this IRISXtract Cloud shared environment, as a partner, it's very easy. There is a one-time setup fee that you have to pay to just deploy your project in the cloud. And from there is a price per page that you consume. There is no obligation for minimum volume. There is no obligation towards time to use it. It's just your application is in the cloud, you start working with it, and there is a monthly reporting behind, and of course, also a monthly invoice along the consummation that you did. So this is the IRIS Cloud shared environment. And then the second flavor that we have is a dedicated cloud. And in some cases, a customer would prefer his own completely isolated server and extract environment. In this case, we just deliver, like we say, a dedicated cloud for you. And this dedicated cloud is up and running all the time if your customer is using it, yes or no. From the license point of view, because we have this server up and running all the time, there is a monthly subscription linked to it. You will pay a monthly fee based on the size of this dedicated server, the number of CPUs you need, the number of memory, the number of storage, etc. And next to the monthly subscription, you need an IRISXtract license on top of it. So I will start talking about licenses a little bit more later. Now in this cloud, there comes some services with it. The first thing that we can offer is first level support. Partners who are already working with us and are used to sell IRISXtract, they know that we are used to only give second level support to your customers through you as a partner. In this case, if you are going to use our hardware, it might be that there is a question related to communication towards the hardware, the infrastructure behind. And that's why in this case, we can offer as well first level support directly related to the IRISXtract Cloud. And the second thing that we can offer is project customization. Now, if you as a partner have the knowledge in-house to build your own applications and to do your own project customization, of course, it's logic that you will do it yourself. It will be part of your offering to your customer. But imagine that you are going in this repetitive model, like I explained, and you have your own application. In that case, it doesn't make sense always to have all the profiles in-house, the technical know-how to build your own IRISXtract applications to do all the customizations. And in that case, if for one or another reason you need customization, we are there to help you and to do this for you. And you can still sell it as a service to your customers behind.
Bart, can I interrupt you a minute?
Yes.
I have a question that would make sense maybe for more people from Clifford. He asked, does shared means public cloud and dedicated means private cloud?
That's a very good question. And when we were preparing the offering, to be honest, I've chosen exactly those words, private and public cloud. Now we have within IRIS a division which is specialized in infrastructure and in cloud propositions. And we work together. And the remark that they gave me is that if I'm talking about a public cloud, for them, that means that we are going to use a third-party cloud provider like Azure or like Amazon or Google. And this is something which we don't do. We have our own data center. Shared means one virtual cloud server with one IRISXtract, where the usage of the CPU, the memory, the disk is mutualized between different customers. But it is our own hardware, and that's the reason why we call it shared and not public. And dedicated is in the same data center, but then you get your own instance. Actually, instance is not the right word. You get your own Windows server, and within this Windows server, you have your own IRISXtract installed. So that's the difference between shared and dedicated. So I guess this is fine as an answer? Yes.
Yes, Bart.
Okay, no problem. But of course, you don't need to use our cloud if you have your own cloud, or in certain cases, because you would like to control the SLA behind, you would like to set up your own cloud environment. This is also possible. And then the infrastructure is coming from you. The only thing what you need is an IRISXtract license to have IRISXtract up and running in your cloud environment. And there we have also different kinds of licenses that you can use. The most logic, if you are going to sell a service, is that you also use our license as a service from us. And this is our transactional license model that we have. In the transactional license model, you get a license without any limitation in volume, without any limitation technically. You can start using it. And every month, every quarter, we will just check what you consumed on this license. And this will be invoiced to you based on a price per page. So there is no upfront investment in licensing, and you only be invoiced what your customers are consuming. So this is the transactional license. It's very similar to the cloud pricing, but there is not the infrastructure included, and there is no setup fee because we don't have a setup cost on our side using the transactional model. So that's the first model that you can use. Although you can still use as well the classic perpetual license, a license which most probably you are selling all the time right now to your customers. And in this case, there is a one-time investment for you, which you can resell, repackage as a service. But at a certain point, the license is paid back, and it's a kind of free of charge that you are using the license because you bought it and you can use it. And if you make the calculations over long term, you will see that the perpetual license will give you the most benefits, it will give you the best price. And you see immediately the difference. It's a kind of risk management. Transactional license, no risk at all. What you buy is just following what you are selling. The classic perpetual license is an investment that you are doing in an ID that you have, and if your ID is successful, then you will have a much better margin towards the transactional license, but you take a certain risk. And there is a license in between, especially if you don't like the fact that there is a one-time investment with this classic perpetual license. And that's our subscription model. From a technical point of view, the subscription model is exactly the same as a perpetual license. But from a commercial point of view, instead of buying the license, you are going to rent it, you rent the license from us, and you just pay a monthly fee for the usage of the software. So that might be an alternative for a perpetual license if you don't want to go in a one-time upfront investment. And just to be complete, we have a fourth license which you can use, and that is the container license. And a container license, the idea behind is that you buy upfront a certain volume which you consume along the way as long when you need it. And this is used in two different situations. Situation one is you have a customer who has a project with a limited scope. For instance, I have an existing paper archive of 2 million documents, and I need to convert this to an electronic archive. But once that I process those 2 million documents, well, the project is finished, and I no longer need to process new documents. Well, you know exactly the volume that you have to process. You can buy a container license for 2 million documents, and based on this container, you start the production with your customer. And when you're finished, the container is consumed and the project is ended. There is no new cost behind. A second reason why time to time a container license is used by partners is if you don't have a real commitment of your customers. Like I explained, the classic perpetual license is the best license in long term. That means if you make a business case over 3 to 5 years. But what if your customer is not willing to give you a commitment on 3, 4, or 5 years? Well, this is this risk management. Are you taking the risk that you will renew? Are you willing to take the risk that you will find new customers? Or do you say, no, my customer has signed up for only 1 year. I have an idea of the volume that he will consume over 1 year. So I will start with a container license, exactly with the volume based on what my customer will consume. And next year, if you renew the contract, you will renew your container license to us. So that's another alternative that you have towards subscription and a classic perpetual license. And of course, you have the transactional license just to follow what you are selling. And time to time, well, what I see that partners are doing is that they start with a transactional license because they have no idea if what they have in mind will work out. And once that they have set up a standard base, then they switch to a classic perpetual license. So this is also possible to do switching from one license to another license. Right. So we know what kind of service that you can offer to your customers. We know how IRIS can support you and what kind of license that we offer to you. How are you now going to sell your service to your customer? And because we talk about a service, it means by default that we talk about a subscription or a transactional model. Subscription means that you ask a monthly fee and your users can use the service during that month. Transactional means that your users can start using the service, and at a certain point you calculate what they consumed, and this is what you invoice. First thing that you have to know is that what we propose as IRIS towards you is only a partner model. We have no proposition at all towards end user pricing if we talk about IRISXtract as a service. And the reason why is I explained to you what you can build around IRISXtract. I have no idea what your service is looking like, and I don't know what will be the USPs of the service that you are going to offer to your customers. So I can give you no idea on what should be the price and how you have to ask, what you have to ask to your customer. So the example that I gave with the 5 Ferraris that you can buy and it's 5 times the same actually is not 100% correct, because the product, the solution will be the same, but it might be that there are 5 completely different commercial models behind. You as a partner has the liberty to build your own commercial model towards your customers. Of course, we can work together in it and help you with this. And what I see that a lot of partners are doing in the choice between subscription and transactional is that they actually mix this model. So they are going to ask a subscription, a fixed monthly fee that the customer has to pay. And within the subscription, there are a number of clicks included. And the moment that you exceed this number of clicks which are included, there will be a price per click on top that you consumed. It's the telecom model that a lot of telecom providers are selling, for instance, to us with text messages and the usage of mobile telephone. And this is also a very valid model if you talk about software as a service. Now, the subscription and transactional is related to the usage, which is quite simple. But there is always a kind of initial cost in setting up your service. If you have a tailor-made solution, then there are professional service. Someone has created this application. And even if you don't go for tailor-made solutions, someone has to activate the application inside the cloud. Someone has to provide credentials so that your user can do a login into the system. So there is a certain cost. There's also a cost of sales behind. And the question is, what are you going to do with this cost? And here I see partners who are focusing on larger customers and to high-end market, that they very often split what they deliver. There is a project, there's a project for the integration, the customization, and all the fixed costs are put into the project, and your customer has an initial investment, but this is just to enable the service. And then there is the service on its own in a subscription, in a transactional, in a hybrid mode, like I explained. What I also see is that if partners are focusing on SMB market or on smaller customers, they would like to avoid this initial cost. Now, what they do is they take this initial cost and they just put it inside of the subscription model, so that you have a startup cost of 2,000 euro. Well, on top of, they have monthly 100 euro, and then after 20 months, they know that the fixed cost is paid back. And some mix, they reduce the 2,000 euro to 500 euro, and then they just take the 1,500 remaining into the subscription. But the message is that you have the freedom to play with it and to build really your own model behind. Now, this is the theory, what we can offer. I will give you some examples, just like I said, but before I continue, I would like to ask something to you. And we have inside our webinar tool a polling mechanism where we can create a poll. And if you go to polls, you will see the question, what in your mind are the highest hurdles to offer IRISXtract as a service? And I would like to ask you to answer what you think, which is the highest hurdle. Will it be the bandwidth usage? Will it be the integration with the end customer environment? Will it be security? Will it be that customers don't trust cloud? So please make your vote now if you want. And I know I made it a little bit difficult for you. If I given the option that there are no hurdles, I think that most of you would say there are no hurdles, because today using cloud, using a service is more and more accepted. Now, if I see to the answers, 40% says that it's the integration with the end customer environment, which they think which will be a blocking factor. But to be honest, there is almost no difference between an on-premises solution and a cloud solution to do the integration with the end customer environment. To explain this, I have to go a little bit more in detail on how we are going to do this integration. Because you can work directly with the cloud, and that means indeed that you have to provide a certain integration, but you can also work with a kind of cloud agent which is installed locally inside the network of your customer, and it's the agent who is doing all the interaction with the cloud environment, and from there the end result for input and for output is similar to an on-premises solution. So this integration, if you're using cloud or you use an on-premises solution, is similar. Number two, what I see is bandwidth usage. In some projects, if we have very large volumes, to be honest, I'm always a little bit afraid of bandwidth. And in reality, it's not an issue. Of course, you know, if you need a lot of bandwidth, there is a certain cost behind, and this cost you have to calculate in your service. But there is plenty of bandwidth available. Sometimes, if I see just locally at home, downloading a large file takes exactly the same, or is even sometimes faster than transferring the same file from one PC to another over my network. And customers don't trust cloud. Well, that's the least. Indeed, more and more today, there is an acceptance towards using the cloud. The same with security. There are a lot of systems that you can use to make sure that everything is secure, that everything is separated. And security means security towards availability of the system, and also towards the protective towards your data. And like I explained already, we are using our own hardware, so it's not that we have a third party where all your documents and all your data is on. So let's go to the examples. The first example that I would like to explain is a Belgian partner called Zensoft. And Zensoft is the manufacturer of an ERP software with a focus to the SMB market. In fact, most of their customers, direct customers, are accountants, and accountants have their customers. And they were looking for a system to add invoice processing automatically to their existing application, Zensoft. What was important for them as well is that, you know, if you talk about IRISXtract, there is training and auto-learn capabilities. They wanted to use this auto-learn and this training functionality cross different users, cross different customers. So if customer one trains a certain supplier, they wanted that this training was available immediately for other customers. And by this request, it meant by default a kind of centralized solution that they needed. Also important for them was they sell to an accountant, but like I mentioned, the source of the documents, the invoices, are not coming from the accountant, but from the customer of the accountant. And they wanted to create a kind of bridge between the accountant and the customer of the accountant. And therefore, the only correct solution was a kind of cloud solution and a service for them. And a last point for them is Zensoft is part of a larger group, Trust Team, and Trust Team offers a lot of IT services, and they wanted to enable cross-selling towards those other IT services. And at the end, what they've set up is a central IRISXtract server. They use their own hardware, it's in the cloud. And within IRISXtract, there is only one application. It's a standard accounts payable application that they use. Standard, it's a bit adapted towards the fields that Zensoft needs. they've built their own import channel, and this import channel accepts invoices via email or accepts invoices which are coming from Iris PowerScan. Iris PowerScan is our scan client we have. And based on who has scanned, or based on from which email address the invoices are coming, they know who is the end customer, they know who is the accountant related to this end customer, and they just handle it with one default accounts payable solution, and they route it back to an API which they wrote towards Zensoft. And the validation is not done like classically in a verify of IRISXtract. The validation is done directly by the accountant in Zensoft as a service for his customers. And if I say that the validation, the verification is not used, this is not 100% correct. The accountant has the possibility to say to Zensoft, hey guys, this is an invoice which we very often have at customers, and all the time we need to do a lot of manual work on it. Can you please train it for me? And then the verification is used, but only by Zensoft itself, and they train it, and it's trained immediately for all the accountants, for all the customers. So this is what they've set up. And about the cross-selling, well, I already spoke, they have an import channel through PowerScan. What they did, and this is not part of the service, but this is a separate proposition that they made, is they bundled a PowerScan license together with time to do the installation, time to do to give an explanation and some training, and with a predefined configuration to send it to the Zensoft cloud. And this they sell as a product to the customers of the accountants. So they actually do cross-selling, and they use their existing customer base, the accountants, as a starting point to reach out for the accountants, their customers over there. So this is the model that Zensoft has set up. Another model is Dracier, and Dracier is a partner in the UK. We are still in ERP and accountancy software, but the difference is Dracier is not the owner, it's not the manufacturer of the software. They are an integrator. They are an integrator of Sage software. They do a lot more, but the cloud proposition, the service proposition is related here to what they do with Sage in the cloud. And they also wanted to add an automated invoice processing as a feature. But what was very important for them is that they are an online shop. There is no classic account manager anymore who is knocking on the doors trying to sell Sage software in the cloud. No, if you're interested in Sage, there is the marketing of Sage, and you start to Google on it, you will find immediately Dracier, and from there you can just say, I would like to have Sage software in the cloud. And there will be a little question saying, would you like to handle your invoices automatically? The moment you say yes, the subscription price goes a little bit higher. And the moment that your Visa card or MasterCard is validated, automatically everything will be deployed. So on their side, they have two cloud environments, the one with the Sage environment and then the one with the IRISXtract. Within IRISXtract, they have one big master application, which is defined. And each time that a customer is clicking on the button buy now, a copy of this master application is made, and automatically a new instance of IRISXtract is deployed, a new instance of an application is deployed within the IRISXtract server. And the same for the Sage, and automatically all the links are created for the master data, for the input and the output. So this is a fully complete deployment starting from the moment it is sold until it goes into production for Dracier. Two examples related to accountancy software. Another example is XA Solutions in the Netherlands. And XA Solutions, they are a digital transformation expert. They do invoice processing, but they also do digital mailroom processing. Actually, they work very classic as an integrator. They analyze the needs of their customer and they build a solution, they propose a solution based on it. And for them, if it's as a service, if it's just a classic investment model, if it's in the cloud, if it's on premises, they don't care. They do their analysis, they propose a solution, and then it's up to the customer what the customer prefers. And they started to work with the cloud just because they received questions from the customers to have it as a service, which they couldn't answer in the past. Sometimes to be competitive, it was better to offer a service than going for a classic perpetual license. They are also very active in the public market, and what they noticed is that every time if you have to do an investment, you have to go through a public tender phase. But if you are able to sell the solution as a service, there is no need anymore to go through this tender. So you can use your one-on-one relationship that you have with the customer to go completely through the sales from beginning to the end. And last but not least, they were used to work to medium and large customers. By using the cloud, they were able to go as well to smaller customers or smaller volumes to be processed. So they work just the normal sales cycle, and then they deploy it in the IRISXtract cloud. And they use our cloud. They said, well, we are not going to invest in cloud. It's just if a customer is willing cloud, we deliver cloud and we do it through Iris. And they work with the transactional pricing model behind. So they didn't do any investment to enable the cloud on their side. And they use actually two cloud environments. They have a dedicated cloud, which they use to develop and to give demos and to do acceptance with the customer, because then they're in full control of the environment. And the moment that the project is accepted, they use the shared cloud for the production. And last but not least, I have a partner, Michiels, and Michiels is also in Belgium. It's Michiels Office Solutions, and they offer, like the name already says, office solutions for the SMB market. Office solutions means furniture, means hardware, and that's where they started with 20 years ago. And along the road, they added value to what they are offered. And added value goes in direction, is most of the time advice with these solutions. And one of the solutions that they sold is a document management system on premises and or in the cloud. And to feed it, they were using PowerScan. And of course, I was trying to work together with them to elevate the solution had and to go to IRISXtract. But the message that I received is that their core business are office solutions, and going to a complete IRISXtract environment is perhaps just a bridge too far for them. So they kept it with Iris PowerScan and simple scan solutions. But by having a service proposition and having a cloud proposition, that was a game changer for them, because they were able to offer it without having the need to have expertise around extract. So they just extended their existing solutions that they had, and they added IRISXtract so that they have more added value to offer, and they just sell it like this. So they don't sell IRISXtract in the cloud, they don't sell document management. They've created their own value propositions, which is using different systems in different clouds. And by the way, the IRISXtract cloud over here is again the cloud which is offered by Iris, so they didn't do any investment in it neither. And they do the same with the document management and with other systems that they buy in the cloud. But the value proposition is a value proposition which covers multiple platforms, multiple solutions. And like this, they go on the road with a Michiels invoice solution. They go on the road with the Michiels digital mailroom. And a lot of their customers are notaries in Belgium. They have a Michiels notary solution as well. And where initially they started from office and starting to sell hardware. They turned it around and they start proposing those solutions. And based on those solutions, they do upselling and they sell additional hardware and they sell advice, they sell consultancy. And this is not consultancy like, for instance, XI is doing. XI is really going for the need of the customer. Here it's more, you are an SMB, we are an SMB, we know what you know, and we have some very interesting value propositions, some ideas which you can use. And again, remember this COTS, the solutions off the shelf. This is how they present it. It's not a customization. There's a lot of parameterization behind it, so we can just tweak it as it is good for you to use. So, like you see, 4 complete different solutions. But every time the basic is somewhere IRISXtract in the cloud, either the cloud provided directly by us with hardware, either only a license provided by us, and cloud enabled via the partner. So if you would like to start sell IRISXtract as a service, what you have to do is, first of all, you have to define the scope. What are you going to sell? You know that all good business plans starts with a good ID. So you need to have this ID. And from there, based on the ID, you have to define which architecture you're going to use. This is something definitely where we can help you with. And once you have the ID and you have the architecture behind, you know the cost structure on your side as well. That's the moment that you can define what is your license model that you can sell. You can validate if you are good on the market, and if all set, everything is green, well, you can start selling IRISXtract as a service, or perhaps you can start selling your service where IRISXtract is a part of. And with this said, I'm at the end of my presentation. I didn't put the questions. I don't know, Pierrick, if there were some questions during the presentation.
Yes, there were many questions actually. But because we are a little bit over time, to be honest, we will answer most of those questions offline. Let me just pick 2 that can be answered quickly, Bart. Does data verification happen within the IRISXtract user interface within the cloud?
Yeah. If you do the verification, then you use the web verify for it. And if you use our cloud provided by IRIS, then by default, if you say, I sold a project, you will get back credentials. And with these credentials, you can do a login in the web verify, and you can do the verification like you do as always.
Okay, a question from Christopher. Is first-line support available on both shared and dedicated cloud?
Yes. So
very simple answer, so that's great. With that, if you can go to the next slide, Bart, just to close this webinar, I would like to thank you all definitely for your participation. You know that you can find the replay of this webinar and also the slide deck that Bart has been using for downloading it on our webinar page on the website. So don't hesitate to visit that page. We will publish new webinars to be scheduled in the next days. We will answer the questions that have not been answered yet offline to each and every one of you. And if you have more questions, of course, don't hesitate to contact your point of contact within the IRIS organization, your BDM or your technical contact within the organization. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bart, for this very interesting webinar. Always a pleasure. And with this, I would like to close this webinar. Thank you all. Have a good day or a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.